Have you ever wondered why some women choose to live alone? No partner, no boyfriend, not even trying to find one. It's not because they're lonely, heartbroken, or out of options. The real reason goes deeper. Something most people don't want to admit. Something that challenges everything we've been told about what a woman should want. When a woman chooses to be alone, she's not losing herself. She's finding hers. And that kind of discovery doesn't come with praise or company. It comes with silence, inner strength, and a freedom most people still can't understand. She's not lonely. She's goosey. She's not cold. She just got tired of giving her warmth to people who never wanted to feel it. There's something deeply threatening about why society finds independent women who doesn't need a relationship to feel complete. It breaks apart the idea of control and destroys the myth that women are emotionally dependent. It reveals an uncomfortable truth. Most men don't know what to do with a woman who doesn't need saving. Carl Jung once said that everything we deny about ourselves becomes part of our shadow. Many of these single women reflect our collective shadow. They are what many dream of becoming, but few have the courage to be. They don't cry out for love. They quietly make their choices. They don't put themselves on display for attention. They step back to protect themselves. They're less interested in fairy tale princes and more in their own the shadow self and collective projection piece. And that makes people uncomfortable. While the world demands urgency to be with someone, these women have discovered the power of being with themselves. The woman who lives alone and lost. She's operating on a different level alone, where nothing is begged for, only chosen, where approval isn't needed because presence is enough. Maybe that's why she attracts so much criticism and judgment. People try to label her or explain her away. But what many don't understand is that behind what looks like absence is a presence that fills everything. She doesn't want just any kind of love. She wants something that doesn't make her smaller, and until that comes along, she stands strong, whole, and complete. The silence from emptiness to sanctuary. Understanding solitude. A woman who lives alone isn't emptiness. It's a sanctuary. Those who don't understand this space often call her cold, distant, or arrogant. But what few see is that she didn't build walls to shut the world out. She built them to avoid losing herself. Jung also said that everything we don't face in ourselves, we project onto others. Maybe that's why so many women confuse being alone with being empty, when really it can be the perfect ground for self-discovery. While most people try to fill themselves through outside connections, this woman turned inward. There, in the depths of her own mind, she faced the ghost she'd avoided for years. Childhood wounds, the journey of inner awakening and healings and abandonments. Attachments discs as love. Her choice to be alone didn't come from an open wound, but from a scar that finally healed. She hadn't stopped believing in love. She just stopped accepting what others called love when it only made her feel smaller. This woman knows chaos. She's love-a-duntal. She lost herself. She's given too much. She's begged for scraps that should never have been offered. But at some point, she woke up. That awakening wasn't sudden. It was a series of disappointments that stopped hurting and started teaching. What you see now isn't coldness, it's emotional maturity. And maturity is scary because it demands presence, depth, and truth. She doesn't want just any company. She wants a real connection. She's no longer attracted to compromises, but to genuine presence. Maybe that's why she seems unreachable to emotional maturity versus coldness. The truth, many. She doesn't want to be saved, she wants to be seen. And that takes more than charm or sweet words. It takes courage to dive into the depths where few dare to go. That's where many give up. Not because she's difficult, but because she's whole. When a woman becomes whole, she awakens two extremes in the world: admiration and fear. Admiration from those who are also seeking wholeness. Fear from those who still live incomplete, waiting for someone else to make them feel whole. She doesn't want to complete anyone. She wants to share overflow with someone who has also found themselves. Until then, she remains alone, not by accident, but Jung's individuation process and action out of loyalty to her own soul. This woman isn't hiding, she's protecting Hurst. There's a huge difference between isolating and preservation, but the world doesn't easily accept a woman like this. A world that still preaches happily ever after only exists in pairs. Jung once said that where convention rules, there's little room for authenticity. This woman doesn't live by convention. She lives by a sense. She hears phrases like, "You're too picky," or "Nobody's perfect," and smiles. A calm, steady smile. Because she knows what many call picky is simply having standards it took her years to realize she deserves. She's not looking for perfection. She's breaking cycles and ancestral patterns for someone mature enough to love without destroying. Someone who's done enough inner work she's already faced. And honestly, that's not something you find very rare. The discomfort she causes isn't in what she says, it's in what share a presence. She's living proof that it's possible to be happy without depending on anyone else. And that exposes truths people don't want to see. This woman isn't in a hurry. She doesn't rush to please anyone. She respects her own timing, and that stirs quiet anger in a society that wants everything now. She wants depth while the world chases distractions. She wants presence while the world offers shallow availability. When she says no, it's not a game, it's the archetypal transformation of modern women truth. When she walks away, it's not drama, it's self-defense. When she chooses to stay home instead of going out with someone empty, it's no arrogance, it's clarity. Perhaps what unsettles people most about this woman isn't her solitude, it's the peace she's found within herself. Jung taught that those who look outward dream, but those who look inward awaken. That's exactly the journey she took. It wasn't easy. It was a difficult process of removing masks, facing the ghosts of emotional tendency, and rebuilding herself piece by piece. She no longer defines herself through others' eyes. She sees herself through her own eyes, and that changes everything. This woman is the living why. She's not hiding, she's protecting herself. Example of Jung's individuation. She broke apart, faced her shadow, went into the unconscious depths, and returned more whole than ever. Now that she recognizes herself, she refuses to be half of anything again. She doesn't want Simeon to complete her. She wants Simeon to share awareness with. That's intimidating because it demands emotional responsibility. Sadly, few are willing to love responsibly. Most still love from lack, possession, or fear. The woman who lives alone without a boyfriend is not the same woman who once begged to be loved. Something inside her broke, and it was exactly that break that set her free. Sometimes, only in collapse does the new archetype, from survival to celebration, will find its new form. Jung used to say that the tree that reaches heaven must also have roots that go down to hell. That's exactly what she lived through. She went into the hell of her own story, faced inherited fears and pain, not just hers, but from all the women who came for her. She broke cycles. She said no to relationships that repeated the same toxic patterns. She learned it wasn't her job to heal anyone, Savignon, or accept scraps out of fear of being alone. Her transformation isn't surface level. It's archetypal. It's as if she's tapped into ancient wisdom and old memory that women weren't born to deserve, but to express, not to be shaped. Final thoughts. Love that doesn't require self-denial but to overflow. There's something sacred about the way she moves through the world. She doesn't need applause or public validation. Her confidence is quiet, and in that silence lives her true strength. Jung said that everything left within eventually becomes our destiny. Perhaps that's why this woman, in choosing herself again and again, has become the author of a destiny few can understand, but many secretly envy. She no longer tries to fill voids with promises or convince anyone she deserves love. She doesn't beg for space in Anyan's life because she's learned that presence should never be begged for, it should be invited. What few understand is that this woman still longs for love. She still wants to be held, touched, chosen, but she wants it without losing herself. Now she only offers herself where there's room to be whole. We're witnessing a new kind of woman. A woman woe, walked away from the shallow and dove into the depths, who got tired of being merely desired and chose to be respected, who chose to be alone not because she gave up on love, but because she began to understand that real love and ever demands self-denial. This woman doesn't reject love. She simply learned not to accept unbalanced relations where one must dim so the other can shine. She longs to love in a love where her essence doesn't need editing, where she can be both shadow and light, laughter and tears, silence and storm. Deep down, the world fears women like her. Women who don't need, who don't bow, who refuse to be molded. They challenge invisible structures and break silent contracts that once said a woman only has worth if she's with Simeon. So she continues, sometimes with tears, sometimes with her head held high, but always with her feet firmly off ground, because now she knows she's not alone. She's with herself. And after everything she's lived through, that is more than enough. The love that comes after this won't be salvation. It will be celebration. It won't come to fill. Here it will come to overflow. When a woman chooses,